fostered as a kid. Everyone was white.
Yeah.
And I was the only black kid. It was all about, fitting in, but I always knew I was different. I was just besotted by the military.
Yeah. What age was you?
I was about 6, 7.
Oh, really? That young?
Because you think the army's going to be really serious. It's completely the opposite. He'd come up to us, he said, "Smudge, I'm thinking about putting a bobsleigh team together. Would you want to be part of it?" I went, "Where do you go?" He went, "Well, we do it in Austria." I went, "Austria?"
What level did the team get to?
My last thing was to get one of the guys to represent Great Britain, and I took him from 0 to an Olympic. Not only Olympic, the #1 brakeman for Great Britain.
On this episode of the Elite Podcast, I speak to Stevie Smith, aka Smudge, former paratrooper, Olympic bobsleigh athlete and coach, and budding entrepreneur. Smudge, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for coming to Liverpool and doing the podcast. We've been talking about it, obviously, for quite some time now, so it's good to get you up here finally.
Yeah, finally you get me up here. You've got me on that train, and yeah, even though I did forget the day, but yeah
basically reminded him the day before, and he's like, "Isn't that next week?" Yeah, but you made it anyway, so welcome to Liverpool, mate. So yeah, I just wanted to have a chat with you today. Obviously, we've got a lot of history together. Went through basic training together for the Parachute Regiment in the 90s, 1994, 95. And you've obviously gone on to do all sorts of stuff with your WS Fitness and the Airborne Business Group, which you're now doing. Yeah. So just wanted to rewind a little bit to when you were younger, if that's all right, mate, and then just work our way through then. Okay. So it's Leicester, isn't it? You grew up?
Yeah, and Leicester. I was born, and then I was brought up in a town called Colville, just outside Leicester, a little mining village out in the sticks. And I was, went through, I suppose, as a normal child, but slightly different.
What way?
So I was fostered as a kid. So I went to a place where it was all like everyone was white. Yeah. And I was the only black kid. Well, me and my brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, in the area. So it was all about, kind of fitting in, but I always knew I was different. You know what I mean? Yeah. I always knew I was different. There was no changing the fact that, so, when you grow up in life and people say, "Oh, you need to play the grey man." Never been.
There's no hiding for you.
There's no hiding for me. Yeah. Even when I joined the army, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely look like you weren't trying to hide. To be honest with you, you look like. Do you think that's any reason to do with that? Do you think because for anyone who doesn't know you, you're extremely extrovert. Even though you've chilled out somewhat as you've got a bit older, you're still absolutely wild. Your personality, your character. But you were even more so, when you were in your late teens when we met, when we was in training. Yeah. So, yeah.
100%. So that's how I've always gone through life. So instead of going, I've always gone full frontal. Yeah. You know what I mean? So this is who I am. If you don't like it. And always been honest. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is what you get. This is what it says on the tin. So
there's no hiding, so you do the opposite, basically.
So I do the opposite. Yeah, you know, people go, and then you find out later, you find out within 5 minutes what I'm like. Or, so hiding things to me is not even in my DNA. It's all about, right, boom, this is who I am. Yeah. If you don't like it, then...
So, and how did that work kind of growing up then? So you were fostered. Because I remember you didn't really talk about this much, did you? I mean, I knew I knew you were fostered, but I didn't really delve into the question. It's not really something you kind of ask much. I thought, he wants to tell me, he'll tell me, and you never. So
yeah, I suppose.
How did that work? Like being fostered, was it good? Was you good parents with the same ones for the same time, or was it you jumping around from?
No. I was literally with the same family from flash to bang. Yeah. So from 6 weeks, I was 6 weeks old.
Oh, right. That young as well.
Yeah. From 6 weeks old, I moved to the family, and that is my family. Yeah. I was, like you hear these things on, there'll be these programs out, and it's all about people going through adoption and fostering. You just hear the horror stories and like, yeah, I was abused. I was this, like that. And I used to sit back and watch these programs and I'd go, but you never hear of the success stories.
Yeah.
You never hear, because I suppose it doesn't make good TV. It doesn't make, they always want the bad. Yeah, I was this, I was that. And, you know, taking nothing, there was a lot of stuff what went off back in the days that, you know, people were like abused, but not, if you delve deep, there'd be probably a bit a 50-50 split.
Yeah, so some of them are real success. And in your case, it was the perfect environment for you to thrive.
And that's why where I am and who I am to this day.
It's from the input of your parents, is you,
100%.
Yeah, do you call mum and dad as well?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that's brilliant, mate. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's really good because, you know, like you say, you hear a lot of horror stories
and when
as well.
people get to like, say, 18, they'll go, I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm going. You know what I mean? But for me, I was like, oh. And in the end, it was like, you know, my mum, dad, they've passed now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But my brothers and sisters, we're all still really, really close.
Yeah, so all of you were together then in the same house. Yeah. But so you're growing up in Leicester then, in that environment. Yeah. So how'd you get on? Did you write at school or did you yeah?
Well, I was as extrovert as I was.
Yeah.
But what I loved about school is, you know, I wasn't the most academic bloke, but I was always fit. I was always on the sports teams. I was always this, that, and
so you're making up in one area or another.
Yeah, so I'd always make up. Like I would be representing the school, football or basketball or cricket or and this, that, and the other. I hated the classroom environment. Absolutely hate it. But what I did love about the classroom environment was the laughs. So the group of friends as well from back home in Leicester are still the same.
Yeah.
We are still mates to this day. You know, and when I joined the army, I didn't decompartmentalize that. I was like, this is my friends.
Yeah.
From who I grew up with. These are my friends from the army. And these are my friends from sport. So literally I kept them all I kept all my friends. You know what I mean? And I loved the laugh.
Yeah, well, you always have to.
It was all about the laugh. Yeah. It was always being...
Your whole life and career has always been about...
I was always that cheeky, mischievous, but I never got done. You know what I mean?
Because that cheeky smile.
Yeah, I never...
You can get away with a lot with that, can't you?
Never got done.
Apparently.
So, never got done. And if I did, they'd turn around and say, Stevie wouldn't do that. And my mates would be looking at me going like, what? It was him who was instigating it. I was like, well, yeah, it was just good times.
Yeah.
I mean, my childhood, the laughs that I had and the friends that I had was still are still very close to me. But I knew from a very young age, I'd outgrew that town. Outgrew where I was. I was like, I was always different. So I was always different in whatever I did, whether it would be clothes or within, everything. I was always
trying to be different. Or do you think?
No. It's not trying to be different because I didn't have to try to be different because I was different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was talking the other day and it was like about being a black lad, being brought up in a white town in the early 70s, the late 70s, early 80s. And what was the best thing for us, like when I was at school, when I first started school, was always fighting, you know what I mean? Kids coming up, you black, like that.
Yeah.
And he would be like, right. And my brother was like, no, you're going to have to stay and fight them. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, there's got to be an easier way.
Yeah.
So, and then I realised that, people just would want to be my friend. You know what I mean? It was like, and then hip hop came along. Yeah. So in the 80s, hip hop came along. and then you become the cool kid. You know what I mean? Like,
did a lot for Black PR that did, didn't it?
Did a lot for Black PR, mate. Thank you, Run DMC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then the hip hop came, and then it was like, yeah, I didn't have to fight, or because people would be like, and I was very, very funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You still are.
I could make people laugh. And
that's a great skill to have though, isn't it?
I mean?
You know,
I
for
could
making...
always like make a bad situation good. You know what I mean? Regardless of whatever it was. If it was, you know, we'd be getting told off. We'd be like standing there, like pinching the back of our, you know, quads.
Yeah.
And our hamstrings. And we're like, I'm going, because we were just laughing. And I'd be just making everyone laugh, going like that. When the teacher comes up to someone like that, so I'll be like, and then we'd just be like laughing, and we'd get each other into trouble.
Yeah. Just
for shits and giggles.
And then what did you, so obviously it sounds like you had a really good time growing up in Leicester and that.
Yeah,
so what has it made you want to join the military, and especially like the Parachute Regiment? When did that seed get planted, and how?
Well, that seed was planted from the get-go, because my family was like a military family.
Oh, okay.
So I had a brother in the Air Force, one in the Army, one in the Navy. Yeah. And my dad was he was an ex-tanky. So we always had military coming in and out of the family, and they was a lot older than what I was. So they was all out serving at the time. And I was like, you know, from like your first project at school, I remember it was always on the military. Always on the military. And then the Falklands War kicked off.
Ah, yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? The Falklands War kicked off, and it was all just on the news.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the difference between Pareg, Royal, this, that, and the other. But I just knew. I mean, the Navy is bigger involvement as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I used to draw all pictures of ships getting bombed, and like that. All my you can do. What was it? You can do. You know, when you're at school. And you do, I've forgot the word, a project. Yeah. You do a project on whatever you want. Yeah. Mine was always on war or the army or this. I was drawing all these pictures, and I was like, I'm going to go in.
Yeah. What age was you?
I was probably about 6, 7.
Oh, really? That young?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I was just besotted by the military.
Yeah.
Anything.
And then what made you, go down the Parachute one? Because you was
So I think when I was that young, I was like, I want to be a chopper pilot. I want to be an helicopter pilot. I want to be this. And then I realised what you had to do to be a chopper pilot. You
have to actually work in classroom and get some grades.
And I thought, there's got to be something better than that. So when I was about, I think, 12 or 13, I joined the cadets. And I got my mate. I was like, right, we're going to join the cadets. He went, I don't really want to join the cadets. I said, no, it'll be good for us.
Yeah, like you're talking someone into something they didn't want to do. You don't change then.
Yeah. So we joined the cadets, and it was brilliant. We went away on the, summer camps, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And we met this, it was a summer camp, and this guy from my town, his mum was American, and he went and joined the US Marines, and then came back and did our summer annual camp. And he was going like, the Marines, this, that. And I was like, oh yeah, the Marines sound really good. Have we got a Marines? Yeah. And he said, yeah, we got Marines. So I was like, I used to get all these books.
And then started researching everything.
Looking up, got all the books. My sisters were buying me these Royal Marine books and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, these guys look really good. And I watched all the commando, the Royal Marine officer back in the day. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Until, and this is it's like walking into a brick wall.
Yeah.
We had a cadet open day, and we turned up, and they said, we're going to Castle Donington. And the cadet instructors were a little bit sheepish. It was like, the paras are down. I was like, and we were going like that. Who are these paras? What are the paras? It's like that. So we'd gone over to Castle Donington and got this tower. And we were like, who are these guys? And from the moment you saw these guys, I went, mate, who are these? Walking around with the maroon beret on and overhangs. Didn't know what an overhang was, but they just wore their berets.
You soon learn.
Yeah, soon learn. I was a master.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are completely different. Are these? So we got chatting to these blokes, and this bloke was next to us, and I was on the fan descender. And my cadet instructor, he was a good bloke, but he's gone like that. He's looked at him and goes, oi, get out of the way, you, this para bloke. He said, oi, you, to get him. To him. And I'm like, that's all. He went like that. Who's this crap hat fucking? He goes, I didn't even know what crap hat meant. You know what I mean? Chucks us off this, I'm pissing myself, jumps off this thing. I thought, these are the guys. Because they were just so funny. They just took the piss out of everyone and just didn't give a fuck.
I know the level of confidence that you see is another level, isn't it?
Wow, I was like, who are these guys? And then my research went from Royal to Reg.
Yeah.
And I was like, the book, The Making of the Paras came out. And I was could not stop looking at that book.
Yeah, you need to be obsessed with it, don't you, to get through all the training. Fast forward a bit then. You what was the date you started then? Because we met, didn't you? We got injured, so we met in phase 2, wasn't it? Phase 2 training.
Yeah, so I joined 94.
Was it in the summer?
In the summer, 94. Yeah. And then, I went through with that.
So that was
594.
594 was it? Yeah. That's when it was split, wasn't it, between Lichfield and Catterick? So phase 1 in Lichfield.
Yeah.
And then I started mine in December.
Yeah.
And then we met you, didn't we, up in Catterick?
Yeah.
And then they mixed at 598 we were, and they mixed 599 as well. And then that's when shit got real, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's when it was starting to get the build up to P Company and everything.
Yeah.
And that was our family then. All the dross had dropped off at that point, hadn't we? And we had a really rock solid group. If you look at the picture when we passed out of all the people, like RSM, Olympian.
Yeah. And a lot of the blokes from that platoon did their full term.
Yeah.
A lot of that blokes from that platoon did the full term.
You don't realise when you're going through it, don't you? You just, you are kids, you look back at the picture and you're kids, but some of the stuff that
I was only gonna do 4 years.
Yeah.
That 100%.
Is that what the plan was? It?
Yeah, that was the plan. I just wanted that. I just wanted the maroon beret. I was like, and when I remember getting it, and we'd done P Company, and we're on the square. He called out my number, and I was like, don't smile. I was like that. I went out and got the berry. And I remember me and John Illman, this is what might sound like, but we used to we wouldn't take the berry off.
No.
We'd shower in it, we'd bath in it. Mate, I'm never taking this off. And it's just so, such a nostalgic
achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. People don't know if they haven't done it. It means so much to you for so long, doesn't it? And it's kind of always at a grasp, and you never really know you're definitely going to get it. Even if you, like me and you were in the top level, the fittest ones there, weren't we? In the top few.
Yeah.
But you still didn't 100% know. You don't, because your brain doesn't. You don't know if you're definitely going to do something until after you've done it, really, do you? But the way I kind of dealt with it is I thought, someone's got to pass.
Yeah,
do you know 100%. What I mean?
100%.
Someone has to pass. But then you hear horror stories of fit ones that are anything can happen. You can just trip and break your ankle, or you could fail an event and not really know why. And, so you just never really were in the clear till you were told, pass.
So remember when we had the brief from P Company, and we had to go into that auditorium, and P Company staff come in and it was like that. And they said, and our staff went, right, stay switched on this because you're going to meet the P Company staff. And I'll always remember this. It was like that. So we're all sat there, P Company staff, in front of us going walk in, Blue Thunder, you know what I mean? Oh, mate, these guys. So Steve Cartwright at the back, and
falling asleep, was he?
Fell asleep.
Oh, shit.
And they went, oi, you, stand up. So we stood up. He goes, no, get on the chair with a chair. So they made him stand on the chair with a chair. And I'm looking at him going like that. And then we all got bollocked. after it, when the staff coming like that, who the fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, mate, it was just, so, you know, the funny times, I think that's what made us really close, because
it was hysterical.
It was
hard. It was absolutely horrendous, but it was such a laugh. I never factored that into it. I just thought, right, it's going to be absolutely shit all the way through.
It was so funny.
But the jokes that you're having and the brotherhood you build up and the fun and the blokes are relentless at taking the piss though, aren't they? And if you're, especially you're a fucking instigator of it. So on the attack all the time. If you fucked up around you, mate, you would not let you away with it, would you?
So that's, you know, from school.
Yeah.
Going back, I digress, going back to school, that's how we was in school. And I never thought I'd find that situation again until I joined the army. And then I realised, because you think the army's going to be really serious, it's completely the opposite. It's like the laugh, that it's like, but this time you're like young men doing exactly the same, you know, what you did at school. And your teachers are blokes that have done what you are.
Yeah, just
so
as
like,
bad.
Pupils, they're like prefects. You're like, so you can't pull the wool over their eyes, and that's why you laugh so much, because they laugh because they know what you're going to do. When you go like, don't lie to me. Like, I'm not, Corporal. I definitely did. Yeah, of course you did. You know what I mean? Because they know.
Yeah.
And it was just so funny seeing the blokes trying to get away with stuff. What you're never going to get away with.
No,
you know what I mean?
Can't bluff a bluffer.
You can't bluff a bluffer. You can't pull the wool.
But you've had you've had a really interesting career. You've done a lot of, I mean, people would look at your career. I mean, you ended up as a sergeant, wasn't you? You finished as a sergeant, and you've done some amazing things within the regiment, haven't you? Do you want to just quickly overview some of the cool stuff that you've done, some of the postings that you've had, and then I want to talk a little bit about a couple of those, then, if that's all right.
Yeah. So I started off C Company, went from C Company to support company.
Yeah,
was in the mortars
together, didn't we?
That's when we was together. Then I went from the mortars to the recruiting team.
Didn't you win machine guns?
No. This
in the order. You did an order.
I'm doing it in order. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the recruitment team's a great little post.
Yeah. So the recruiting team. We'll talk about the recruiting.
Yeah.
team. You know what I mean? So the recruiting team then came back from the recruiting team, then went machine guns.
Okay. Yeah.
That was for Kosovo. Then I stayed with machine guns for the duration. Then I went to the gym for a bit. Then I went to Catterick as a screw.
Yeah.
And
so
then
your PTI, was your PTI when you were at Catterick?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I came back from that. No, I didn't come back from that. I went straight from Catterick to the Bobsleigh team. So that's when I got found from the Bobsleigh team.
Yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about the Bobsleigh team, because you've spent a fair bit of time in there, and you've really kind of created a legacy for it, and it was going before, but you took it to another level, didn't you? With your involvement in it and your recruitment, and you know the team as well. Didn't they compete like at a really high Olympic level or something?
So I've had through the program that I put together. So going back to the Bobsleigh team, so the Bobsleigh team had a Para-Reg team, but it had diminished. Yeah, it had finished, and then they put it back together when I was a Catterick. I wasn't even in battalion at the time. I was a Catterick as a PTI, and John Hillman again. I'm going to mention your name quite a bit, John. So John rings me up. And he goes like that. He goes, Smudge, you never guess what? I went, what? He goes, I'm on the Bobsleigh team and you're not. And I went, you what? He goes, yeah, 3 Paras putting a Bobsleigh team together, and I'm going away to Austria on a driving course. I went, I'm not, you joking? I said, who's running it? He said, Lewis Roberts. I was like, just say to Lewis, I said, just say to the boss, I said, Smudge sends his regards and I hope you're doing well. John didn't know, like the year before I was out in the Falklands, Lewis he'd come up to us, he said, Smudge, I'm thinking about putting a bobsleigh team together. Would you want to be part of it? I went, well, I'm not sure. Where do you go? He went, well, we do it in Austria. I went, Austria? I'd never been like out there.
All the nice countries.
Yeah, all the nice countries. Yeah. And I went, yeah, well, I thought he was warring us for a start.
Yeah.
But he says, no, I'm army champion, this, that, and the other. I said, well, if you put it together, I'll get involved, but I'm going to Catterick after this. He goes, oh, don't worry about it. Fast forward. So John said that. Then he said to Lewis, he says, oh, that reminds me, I need to get in touch with Smudge. So he calls me up the next day. This is Lewis Robert, calls me up. He says, we've got trials for the 3-power bobsleigh team. Do you want to come down and do it? So I spoke to my boss and said, can I go down and trial out for the 3-power bobsleigh team? He said, yeah. So then the day after, I've rang John back up and says, John, guess what? Because he was away in Australia. He goes, what? I'm on the bobsleigh team. He went, no, you can't be. Because you're not even in 3-power. I went, I'm on it, mate. I came down, did the selection, come top in the selection, and then c'est la vie. I did, 6 years on the Great Britain bobsleigh team.
Wow, 6 years. So on the Great Britain, so is it nothing to do with the army or the Parachute Regiment? Do you want to, how does it work? Because I know there's a Parachute Regiment bobsleigh team before, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And did they represent Great Britain then? So,
No. So
how did the layout work with that?
What happened was I went to the Army Novices.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a Great Britain coach there. He saw me. I did a push because I was a brakeman. And then...
Serious level of fitness as well. I mean, you still are, but back then, mate, you were flipping...
Yeah, but it was
serious level of fitness.
It was a different kind of fitness back. So power edge fitness and being an athlete fitness are two different, you know what I mean? Because as a paratrooper...
Being an athlete is totally different to being a soldier.
You're it's all about endurance. In the bobsleigh, it's all about power, speed and power. So I had to learn a whole different aspect of training, like Olympic lifting, sprinting. I mean, I could sprint, but I couldn't, when people say, can you run? Yeah. Are you a fast runner? Yeah, I can sprint. Until you're actually taught how to sprint, then you're not fast. It's just raw. So when I used to look, when I became the coach, I could look at people and they'd say, run from there to there. Like I get, a marker, a post, run from there to there, probably about 30, 40 meters. And then I'd just look at their gait, look at their running style and like, yeah, you're quick, but you can be fast.
So you'd look for raw talent then that hasn't been shown. And
then you just fine tune drills,
And you had the whole of the Parachute Regiment to pick from.
Yeah.
Or was it the whole of 3-power
So
or the Airborne Brigade?
It was only 3-power. So when I put 3-power, so go back. So I competed, then left. I left in 2010. I left in 2010 on the Great Britain team. Came back to 3-power, went straight out to Afghan. Yeah, literally. I've been back.
Preparation. Yeah, flipping out.
Preparation, yeah.
Straight
Trial for the Olympics.
Straight from the Arctic into the flipping desert.
Yeah. So back from that, straight to 3-power. And you know what 3-power is like? Your family's going like that. They would be saying, they won't send you out there. You've not been there for ages. I went, once you're back in the fold, you're back in the fold. And it's like everything. You just adapt. You just go back in and you go, right, where are we going to go? Because me and John went back at the same time. Because John was on the bobsleigh team as well. And we both went back at the same time. And it was like, where are we going to go? He said, right, he said, oh yeah, you can go HQ. I was like, go on HQ. And then one of the sergeant majors at the time said, right, in support company, he gave us a ring. He said, do you want to come back to support company? I said, yeah. I says, I'll go back to guns. So I was going to go back to guns. Where we'll put you, you won't be, we'll bring you in slowly. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And literally, I'm like that, platoon sergeant on the I'm thinking, what? But mate,
you're full screw then, were you?
Yeah. And then I came back. I came back as a full screw. Then went out there as a platoon sergeant.
Bloody hell, flipping out. A lot of responsibility then, wasn't it?
Me and Tommy Bennett, yeah. And I couldn't have asked for a better bunch of guys. Like, again, you formulate a team, and that's what I'd just been part of, formulating teams, and that's what we did. When we was out there, we had a team. Everyone came back. We only had one injury.
That's good.
And it was, it was great. And then I came back from Afghan, and then someone said to us, the new CEO had taken over, and he wanted to bring in a new sports for the guys to think. I said, and one of the blokes said, Smudge, why don't you put a bobsleigh team together? And I was like, I don't know if I can be asked, you know what I mean? As in, because I'd left with a bit of a cloud. I didn't like some people in the bobsleigh world. So, and then I went, but the blokes really wanted it, and I said, all right, okay, that's what we'll do then. I'll put a team together. So what I did, I made a 5-year plan, because I only had like 5 years left in the army. So I made a 5-year plan, what I wanted to achieve if I put this team together. And I smashed out the ballpark. So,
brilliant. And what level did the team get to?
Yeah, so my last thing was to get one of the guys to represent Great Britain and go on to Olympic Games. And I took a guy from flash to bang. He was just a big lad. And I took him from 0 to an Olympic. Not only Olympic, the #1 brakeman for Great Britain.
Was he? What's his name again? I've met him before.
Nick Gleeson.
Nick Gleeson, that was right. I remember seeing it on social media when he was going and stuff. So I met the whole team. I sponsored the bobsleigh team. That's why I reconnected with you again, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I got a nice picture of them all, and with me and you, and they are some big blokes, man.
Yeah. Well, literally, I created the Gorillas in the Mist. That's what we used to call it. They used
the Gorillas in the Mist.
They used to walk around and people go, "What are these guys?" They were massive.
Yeah.
So basically, I went right. First of all, I got given 2 weeks to train these guys. And we went and won the Army Championships. And then what the CEO said, he said, I went, right, the first year, what I want to do is I want to win the Army Championships. And then I want to get 2 guys to represent the Army in the inter-services. And that was my first goal, yeah.
For yourself?
For myself, within the 5-year plan.
You competing or with your team?
I was still competing.
Okay.
So I was like player coach.
Yeah.
And so I knew I'd got one of them covered, because I was going to get picked for the Army and I was going to represent the...
So you had to get one more.
So I just had to get one more. And I knew I'd get that, because I was like... So we won the Army Championships. Bear in mind, we'd only been training for 4 weeks training. We won the Army Champions outright, every race. Boof. The whole team got picked to represent the Army. So the Army team
was a Parachute Regiment team.
Then became the Parachute Regiment. So then I kind of made myself
the captain.
Yeah, the job. So literally, I made. And it's the best way to do it. In anything,
proof of concept.
Create your own job. You make yourself so. Indispensable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, we've got to have him because this is his team. So and then we just went on and on. So the next year we won the Army, and then so we was the Army champions. Went on to the inter-services. So in the inter-services, you're competing against the best in Britain. Yeah, because all the bobsleigh is such a small facility. The guys that are like the drivers in that, and predominantly back then were all military. So you could be competing against all the GB lads who were like from the RAF, from the Navy, from the Marines, blah, blah, blah. We came second. And I'm like, if we've came second after 4 weeks training, I'm going to win the inter-services.
What, the next year?
Yeah. So the second year, we had a little bit more training. We came second again. I was like, mate, we're just like...
Yeah.
So, but I was still player coach. Yeah. the third year, I've gone, right, fellas, I'm not competing anymore.
You stepped down and then pushed the younger lads through.
I'm not competing anymore. And they were like, no, you've got to compete. I went, no, you're good enough now. You've done the inter-services twice and you've come second. And that's with me competing.
Yeah, but you can't.
But I can't give you all of Smudge.
100% with you.
You know what I mean? I need to give you all of Smudge.
Yeah.
You know, for you to have the ability to. So I'm not worried about my training. All I'm worried about is you being number one.
And what happened?
We smashed it.
And won.
Yeah, we won.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And then we won. And then we took a knock.
Yeah.
We took a knock the following year. We lost it. Completely lost it. It wasn't down. It was down to kit and equipment. Because when people sit on the laurels and think, "Oh, we won it on this,"
probably did you good to lose. Then
you
shake yourself back up again.
So the year after that, when we lost, we got everything. Because I was like, I went back and said, if we do not get this, we're pulling the team. And the Parachute Regiment was behind us, and like, because some blokes got injured.
Yeah,
you know, we're not having the right kit and this, that, and the other.
And how did you get on the next one?
We won it again.
Oh, well, there you go. That's even better to have a knock and then to readjust yourself, take it, process what's happened,
exactly,
and recorrect yourself back. Shows even more strength. So you've got then, obviously, this isn't an accident. You've obviously, as a paratrooper, you gain a certain mindset, don't you? An ability to be elite, to be the very best at what you do. And then that thread carries on into other things as it's done with you. And you've gone on to teach and coach and compete top level in bobsleigh, work your way each time to the top of that.
Yeah.
And then get into a new group, work your way to the top, start at the bottom. And then that's brought you on as you left the military, you started your own like elite training company, wouldn't you? SWS.
Yeah.
Training. You've trained celebrities and stuff as well, haven't you? With
that? Yeah. And that was again just I think, you know, people would say, Smudge, you could fall out of a herc and land in a, you know,
like a cat, or like always landing on his feet.
You know what I mean? But you're I think you make your own destiny.
Of course you do.
You know what I mean? People used to say, Smudge, how come I never see you with a smile, without a smile on your face? Because I put myself in jobs that give me that smile. You know what I mean? I'm not going to put myself in, and this is what you learn, you know. If you put yourself in an environment where you're unhappy and you're willing to stay there, more for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not me. If I'm in an environment and I don't like it, I'm getting out.
Yeah.
And it takes balls to do that.
It does,
because you could be on a lot of money. You could be on a lot of money and going like, no, I'm just going to stay for the money.
Yeah,
you see that a lot, don't you? You're missing out the purpose of the job. You know?
Yeah, unfortunately, you do see that with a lot of the blokes, don't you? They're stuck in. Once you start falling for that trick and that trap of the money, doing it for the money, then your soul's gone, isn't it? You're not fully into what you're doing. You're just stagging on, basically, aren't you?
Yeah.
Just stagging on.
Yeah.
So then from that then, you managed to land on your feet again and acquire the Airborne Business, what's it called? Airborne Business Group, isn't it?
The Airborne Business
ABG.
Group. The ABG, yeah.
And now that's gone from strength to strength. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, what your goals are and aspirations with that?
Yeah. So how it started, I was working out in Africa. And was on this camp cot, and I was just thinking about things. I had a lot of time to think out there, and the Airborne Business Group was running.
I remember seeing it years ago. But it wasn't doing much, though, was it?
But it was doing all right. But then, you know, when guys think it's had its day, and then, you know, toss it to the side. And I'm always a believer of one man's rubbish is another man's gold. But I had this thing in my head when I was out in Africa, and I was like, what's happened to that Airborne Business Group? And I came back and I bumped into the guy who had it, and I said, what are you doing with the Airborne Business Group? And he went, nothing. It's just sat there dormant. And it just planted a seed. So a couple of years after that, after COVID, that was before COVID, a couple of years after that, I went, I want the Airborne Business Group. So I called him up, and there was me and another guy, and I said, we want the Airborne Business Group. He goes, yeah, you can have it. So
really? It's easy as that?
Well, it wasn't as easy as that. We had you know what I mean? There's always a transition of something. So we purchased the Airborne Business Group. And then So Port our Paras approached us to do something else. And I says, I will put on a networking event, but it comes under the Airborne Business Group. And you come, and then if you any guys with welfare issues and this, that, you just identify them guys. So Support Our Paras was like funding the events. We got a small little venue. I found a venue, and like I just put it out there. Right, networking event. It was called Shoot the Shit. So all I wanted was to get the blokes together to find out if I was to put a networking event on, what they wanted. So I just got a load of lads together and chatting to them. I said, look, this is what it's about. It's about helping guys transition from the airborne forces into Civvy Street by giving them the gen. Now, the gen to me is the truth. Yeah. So I said, what would you want if I was to do an event? Who would you want to do the talking? And every one of them said, and I said, right, do you want me to get an inspirational speaker, someone who's walked the Himalayas, scaled Everest, you know what I mean? And every single one of them went, no. And I was like,
you don't need any motivation or inspiration,
we've got more motivation, inspiration, you know what I mean? There's nothing, if I give you a task.
You want a pathway, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
You want a flipping system to get there.
100%.
Yeah.
And you need a process. Mm-hmm. And who's got the processes? We are the processes. So we empower the blokes to come up and tell their processes, how they got into a certain industry. I want to get into, you want to get into construction, how do I get into blokes there like, oh yeah, I'm the managing director of construction RUs, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, I want to get into CP. Yeah. You get that bloke and he gives you the gen, because you don't want to get out the army doing the square route of Beirut. You know what I mean? Just to get back to where you was and went, oh, I could have just gone directly there, of course. Well, now I'm giving you the source of the bloke that can give you that.
Yeah. And networking's so powerful, isn't it?
Oh,
especially
massive.
When everyone's fully engaged and committed to supporting and helping each other. It's been brilliant. I went to your event and spoke on it, didn't I?
Yeah.
About a month or so ago in London.
Yeah.
There was 70 odd people there.
Yeah,
exactly. That was your first proper one, was it? Or your first or second?
So it was my third. So
third one.
I'd done.
Yeah. First one I'd been to, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that?
So I'd done 2 Shoot the Shits.
Yeah.
And then the main event's called Every Man a Linkman.
Mm.
So Every Man a Linkman is where we get businesses to come and pitch. Yeah. So businesses come and pitch, and then you'll have like the voice of experience. So for the first ones, we're just like I was just grinding my teeth, like cutting my teeth and going, right, how am I going to do? So when I'd done 2 of them, and like bearing in mind, I had 50 blokes turn up to my first Every Man a Linkman. And I thought, mate, that's good. And then when I put the next one on in Colchester, these were both done in Colchester, I had another 50 blokes turn up.
Same ones or different or mix?
Yeah. So I was thinking, but they were different blokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I knew it was growing. So I thought, right, I need to move now. I'm going to do the next one I'm going to do in London. So I've been working away again, and I came back, and what I did was, when I was working away, I was working away in the Middle East. And I saw an opportunity. You know what I'm like, mate?
Yeah.
I saw an opportunity. 3 Power was fighting in Bahrain. So I thought, right, and I was getting text messages, when's the next Airborne Business Group? And I went, right, I can run an Airborne Business Group out here. Wherever I am, I can run an Airborne Business Group. So I rang up 3 Power and I said, where's this event? Blah, blah, blah. It's a black tie do. So I did a piggyback on an event, booked out 2 tables, and then put it out to all the guys that were in the Middle East. Then did a meetup, a Shoot the Shit out in Bahrain. So I connected all the guys who were out in the Middle East, working out in Abu Dhabi, blah, 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 all come together for a one-night boxing event supporting the blokes. Came back from that, and then I thought, right, I need to go for this. So I came back, sourced a venue in London, and then put on the London Battersea event, and I knew I needed to showcase it. So I needed to showcase the London one. So I needed to get some good speakers down there, some influential and some, good lads. And, the strap to the Airborne Business Group is every man a link man.
Yeah.
But we all know every man a link man, but not every bloke a good bloke. So if you've got good blokes talking, who blokes respected when they were in, then blokes will come. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like me saying, you don't pick yourself to be an ambassador. Oh, but someone will say,
yeah, of course.
I want you to be an ambassador for my company. I want you to, because they knew the respect that you had when you was in. So you bring your own tier of blokes with you. You bring it, and blokes wouldn't feel embarrassed to talk. Well, you saw the power of that last event.
Yeah.
And some of the chats what went down the range. It was like,
it was brilliant.
Mate, nearly had me in tears, mate.
It was brilliant. It was great to see everybody's story. So many people being successful and continuing with that mindset, as a paratrooper, as an airborne soldier, of being elite, trying to be the very best at whatever they do, working their way to the top, using their initiative, overcoming adversity. Because let's face it, in business, it's not easy and you're going to face lots of challenges, but you have to achieve the objective anyway. And that's what we're trained to do. They're perfectly suited for entrepreneurship, airborne soldiers, 100%. But I think a lot of them, we said about this earlier, set the bar a bit too low though, don't they? So it's good to see other people that are actually have walked those steps and are 100%. Doing it, and they go, do you know what?
I can
do this.
Yeah.
And especially if someone's got the hand there for you to give you a hand up.
Yeah.
Come here, I've cleared this route.
Exactly.
And I think what you're doing is really good. And I know I've heard nothing but positive stuff about it. And I know you're just getting going. But if there's anyone that was going to run it in the whole regiment, any generation, it would be you. You are the link man. You are the one bringing all the battalions together. And you know what you said earlier about being a bit different? It's your differences that makes you stand out, which is why everyone knows who you are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The career you've had as a bobsled, being one of the only black guys.
Well,
you know what I mean, as well. So people remember who you are, though. So and everyone. Everyone likes you. Do you know what I mean? So, or most people like you. Most of the time. Apart from people that know you. So, who better to bring everyone together? So it's been great to see. I know it's just getting started and I know there's going to be some really big things to come from it, mate. I appreciate you inviting us down for that as well.
No. It's my pleasure.
And I appreciate you coming here to talk today, mate. It's been absolutely brilliant to catch up on everything and talk about what you're doing. So thank you very much, buddy.
No, my pleasure, mate.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Can I shake your hand?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go, mate. Good.
Cheers, Smudge.